Thank you very much, Catherine, for nice introduction. Thank you to AES Health for organizing this webinar, and thank you everybody who is watching us now on World Heart Day. We just want to remind of the importance of taking care of our hearts. As Catherine said already, I am Ammar Omanovic. I am from German Heart Center in Dubai, and let's have a look what we are talking about today. The topic is everyday strategies to prevent heart disease, and this is what we want to talk about today, about cardiovascular diseases, atherosclerosis, risk factors, and prevention. What are cardiovascular diseases? Cardiovascular diseases, CVDs, or heart and blood vessel disease, are a group of disorders of the heart and the blood vessels, are the leading cause of death globally, and they include coronary heart disease, which are a disease of the blood vessels supplying the heart muscle. It's estimated that over 20 million Americans 20 and older have coronary artery disease. Cerebrovascular disease, a disease of the blood vessels supplying the brain. Peripheral arterial disease are diseases of blood vessels supplying the arms and legs. Rheumatic heart disease, damage to the heart muscle and heart valves from rheumatic fever caused by streptococcal bacteria. Congenital heart disease, birth defects that affect the normal development and functioning of the heart caused by malformations of the heart structure from birth, and deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism, blood clots in the leg veins, for example, which can dislodge and move to the heart and lungs. As already mentioned, cardiovascular diseases includes numerous problems. Today I focus on those which are related actually to a process called atherosclerosis, and that are coronary heart disease, cerebrovascular disease, and peripheral arterial disease. What is atherosclerosis? Atherosclerosis is a disease that happens when plaque builds up on the inside walls of your arteries. Arteries are blood vessels that deliver blood and oxygen from the heart to the rest of the body. Plaque is a sticky substance made of fat, cholesterol, calcium, and other substances. As plaque builds up, your arteries become hard and narrow, and it can cause several problems. Narrow or blocked arteries can't deliver enough blood, oxygen, and nutrients to the rest of your body. Blockages can eventually lead to tissue death or infection in your arms, legs, or other parts of your body. A piece of plaque can break free and then get stuck somewhere in your body, causing damage. Also, a blood clot can form in a narrow artery. It can eventually loosen and travel through the artery, and also causing damage somewhere in your body. Atherosclerosis may begin when you are a child and worsens over time. It's a slowly and gradually process. It can lead to serious health problems and medical emergencies, including blood clots, carotid artery disease, chronic kidney disease, coronary artery disease, also heart attack, stroke, and peripheral artery disease. What are the stages of the atherosclerosis? There are several stages of atherosclerosis. Each stage involves changes in your artery wall. These changes are so tiny that you can't see most of them without a microscope, but they add up to cause serious damage to your artery. And the stages of atherosclerosis happen over many years, and they often go undetected. Stage 1, endothelial damage and immune response. Actually, atherosclerosis begins when damage occurs to the inner layer of your artery wall. This layer is called the intima. The surface of your intima is lined with endothelial cells, and this thin lining called the endothelium, is the barrier between your blood and your artery wall. Many things can harm your endothelium, and the most common culprits include a high level of LDL, bad cholesterol circulating in your blood, toxins like those from cigarette smoke, high blood pressure, for example, that persists for a long time. And once your endothelium is damaged, several things happen. Cholesterol from your blood starts gathering at the site of injury. These cholesterols become oxidized, a chemical process, and trigger an immune response. This immune response causes that many white blood cells travel to this area, and these white blood cells are called monocytes. They gather and lead to inflammation within your artery. Stage 2, fatty streak. A fatty streak is the first visible sign of atherosclerosis. It is a yellow streak or patch formed from dead cells at the site of endothelial damage. And here is how it forms. The monocytes that moved to your artery turn into cells called macrophages. Macrophages surround and consume invaders to get rid of them. In this case, your macrophages consume the cholesterol. As your macrophages fill up with cholesterol, they take on a foamy appearance, so they are then called foam cells. After the foam cells consume cholesterol, they die, and as the foam cells die, your body sends more and more white blood cells to the area, and those cells continue consuming cholesterol, get foamy, and die. As this process continues, it damages your endothelium more. All the dead foam cells form a bulge underneath your endothelium, and this fatty streak is the beginning of plaque formation. Stage 3, plaque growth. More dead foam cells and other debris continue building up at the site of the fatty streak. The fatty streak slowly gets bigger and forms into a larger piece of plaque. Your arteries smooth muscle cells form a layer on the top of this plaque, and this is called a fibrous cap. The fibrous cap covers the plaque. It prevents a bit of plaque from breaking off into your bloodstream, and meanwhile the plaque keeps growing. It gains calcium, which makes it harder. For a while your blood still has enough room to pass through. That is because your artery wall expands outward to make space for the plaque, but it can only expand outward so far. As the plaque gets too big, the opening of your artery becomes narrower and there is less room for your blood to flow through. The plaque may stay stable for a long time, but eventually it can rupture, and that is the stage 4, plaque rupture. In this final stage, the plaque ruptures and causes major problems in your body. At this point, the plaque has been in your artery for a long time, perhaps many years. It has grown in size and taken up more space in your artery, but the fibrous cap has kept the plaque from breaking open until this point. When the fibrous cap breaks open, the plaque inside comes into contact with your blood, and this can trigger a blood clot to form. This blood clot, known as a thrombus, blocks your blood flow and leads to a heart attack or stroke. We are still learning how these ruptures happen and who is at risk. This illustration shows a normal artery with the beginning of the atherosclerosis and early atheroma with two different kinds of plaque: vulnerable plaque and stabilized plaque. Vulnerable or unstable plaque with thin fibrous cap, with a large lipid pool, with a lot of inflammatory cells, many inflammatory cells, and the other side, stabilized plaque with a small lipid pool and thick fibrous cap and preserved lumen. A thin fibrous cap may be more likely to rupture than a thicker one. The size of the plaque itself may not matter as much. In some cases, smaller plaque bulges lead to heart attack. You remember how did it begin? Atherosclerosis begins when damage occurs to the inner layer of your artery wall. This layer is called the intima or endothelium. Many things can harm your endothelium. The most common culprits include high level of LDL, bad cholesterol, toxins, and high blood pressure. That is what we are talking about risk factors. And risk factors we can divide in two big groups: non-modifiable risk factors, factors that cannot be changed, such as age, gender, and family history. But today I focus on modifiable risk factors, changeable risk factors, because we are talking today about prevention. And let's have a look about these factors. High cholesterol, hyperlipidemia, means you have too many lipids, too many fats in your blood. Your liver creates cholesterol to help you digest food and make things like hormones, but you also eat cholesterol in foods from the meat and dairy products. As your liver can make as much cholesterol as you need, the cholesterol in foods you eat is extra cholesterol. Think of cholesterol as a kind of fat as traveling in lipoprotein cars through your blood. There are different kinds of cholesterol. LDL, or low density lipoprotein, is known as bad cholesterol because it can clog your arteries like a large track that broke down and is blocking a traffic lane. Very low density lipoprotein, VLDL, is also called bad because it carries triglycerides that add to artery plaque. This is another type of traffic blocker. HDL, or high density lipoprotein, is known as a good cholesterol because it brings cholesterol to your liver, which gets rid of it with gallbladder. This is like the tow track that removes the broken down vehicles from the traffic lanes so vehicles can move. In this case, it's clearing the way for your blood to get through your blood vessels. High blood pressure, hypertension. Blood pressure is the measurement of the pressure of a force of blood pushing against blood vessel walls. When you have hypertension or high blood pressure, it means the pressure against the blood vessel walls in your body is consistently too high. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer because you may not be aware that anything is wrong, but the damage is still occurring within your body. And when you are talking about blood pressure, we need to know there are two numbers. The top number is the systolic blood pressure, which measures the pressure on the blood vessel walls when your heart beats or contracts, and the bottom number is the diastolic blood pressure, which measures the pressure on your blood vessels between beats when your heart is relaxing. For example, blood pressure of 120 to 120 over 80 is within the normal range, but blood pressure of 140 40 over 90 is stage 1 or stage 1 hypertension, or high normal blood pressure. And the next one is the high blood sugar hyperglycemia or high blood glucose. It occurs when there is too much sugar in the blood. This happens when your body has too little insulin. Insulin is actually the hormone that transports glucose into the blood into the cells. Or if your body can't use insulin properly, that can also be the cause. The condition is most often linked with diabetes. Hyperglycemia is blood glucose greater than 125 milligram per deciliter while fasting. That means not eating for at least 8 hours. And a person with fasting blood glucose greater than 125 milligram per deciliter has diabetes. A person has impaired glucose tolerance or prediabetes with a fasting blood glucose of 100 to 125 milligram per deciliter. If you have hyperglycemia and it's untreated for long periods of time, you can damage your nerves, blood vessels, tissues, and organs. And damage to blood vessels can increase your risk of heart attack, stroke, and the nerve damage may also lead to eye and kidney damage. Smoking. Here, just in the beginning, I must emphasize that also other forms of tobacco are not safer, and also vaping is not safer than smoking a cigarette. Many people believe that smoking a cigar is safer than smoking a cigarette, but cigar smokers face many of the same potential risks as cigarette smokers, including cancer. Also, chewing tobacco or smokeless tobacco products are not safer than cigarettes either. These e-cigarettes contain high amounts of nicotine, and also e-cigarette vapors contain other damaging substances too. Inhaling these non-nicotine vape ingredients may cause severe, sometimes really deadly lung damage. Now let's have a look about strategies to prevent heart disease. Actually, you can prevent heart disease by following a healthy lifestyle, and here are strategies to help you protect your heart. While you can't change some risk factors such as family history, sex, or age, there are plenty of ways you can reduce your risk of heart disease. And get started with these 7 tips for boosting your heart health. Don't smoke or use tobacco is one of the best things you can do for your heart, and is to stop smoking or using smokeless tobacco. Or even if you are not a smoker, be sure to avoid a secondhand smoke. Chemicals in tobacco can damage the heart and blood vessels. Cigarette smoke reduces the oxygen in the blood, which increases blood pressure and heart rate, because the heart has to work harder to supply enough oxygen to the body and the brain. And there is good news, though. The risk of heart disease starts to drop in as little as a day after quitting. After a year without cigarettes, the risk of heart disease drops to about half that of a smoker. And no matter how long or how much you smoked, you will start reaping rewards as soon as you quit. There are many different ways to quit smoking. To succeed, you have to find a smoking cessation plan that works for your personality. You need to be ready emotionally and mentally. And when you decide to quit, Some pointers can help. For example, to get rid of all cigarettes and anything related to smoking, like lighters and ashtrays. If you are living with another smoker, ask them not to smoke near you, or convince them to quit with you. Keep yourself busy and find things to do with your hands, playing with a pencil or straw. Change any activities connected to smoking to take a walk or read a book instead of taking a cigarette break. Avoid places, people, situations you associate with smoking. Hang out with non-smokers, or go places that don't allow smoking. Don't substitute food or sugar-based products for cigarettes. This can cause weight gain. Instead, choose low-calorie, healthy foods. Try carrot or celery sticks, or sugar-free hard candies or gum. Drink plenty of fluids, but you need to limit alcoholic and caffeinated beverages. They can trigger urges to smoke. Always remind yourself that you are a non-smoker and you don't smoke, and don't forget to exercise, because it has health benefits and can help you relax. Get moving. Aim for at least 30 to 60 minutes of activity daily. Regular daily physical activity can lower the risk of heart disease. Physical activity helps control your weight. It also reduces the chances of developing other conditions that may put a strain on the heart, such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. If you haven't been active for a while, you may need to slowly work your way up to these goals, but in general, you should aim for at least 150 minutes a week of moderate aerobic exercise, such as walking at a brisk pace, or 75 minutes a week of vigorous aerobic activity, such as running, or 2 or more strength training sessions a week. But also, if you really want to be more active, you don't have to go to the gym or get all sweaty. It is possible to increase your activity level while doing everyday things you enjoy. Also, walking or gardening or dancing are just a few of the things that you might try. As with all the other changes, the key is not to do too much and too fast. If you don't do any activity now, start, for example, by walking for just a few minutes every other day. Do that for a few weeks, and if you stick with it, try doing it for longer. But if you find that you don't like walking, try a different activity. Improve your diet, because a healthy diet can help protect the heart, improve blood pressure and cholesterol, and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. Two examples of heart healthy food plans include the dietary approach to stop hypertension, the DASH diet eating plan, and something what we recommend in German Heart Center is a Mediterranean diet. Actually, there is no single diet that is right for everyone, but in general, a healthy diet should or can include lots of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, some beans, some nuts such as walnuts, peanuts, fat-free or low-fat milk and milk products, some fish, also healthy fats such as olive oil. But also, to have a healthy diet, it's important to limit or avoid sugar, sweets, meats, and refined grains, which are found in white bread, white rice, most forms of pasta, and most packaged snack foods. Also, we need to avoid saturated fat found in red meat and full fat dairy products, and trans fat found in fried fast food, chips, and baked goods. Maintain a healthy weight. Being overweight, especially around the middle of the body, increases the risk of heart disease. Excess weight can lead to conditions that increase the chances of developing heart disease, including high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. The body mass index BMI uses height and weight to determine whether a person is overweight or obese. A BMI of 25 or higher is considered overweight and is generally associated with higher cholesterol, higher blood pressure, and an increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Waist circumference also can be a useful tool to measure how much belly fat you have, and the risk of heart disease is higher if the waist measurement is greater than 100 centimeter for men and 90 centimeter for women. Even a small weight loss can be beneficial. Reducing weight by just 3 to 5% can help decrease certain fats in the blood, triglycerides, and lower blood sugar, and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. Losing even more helps lower blood pressure and the blood cholesterol level. When people think about losing weight, they sometimes make it more complicated than it really is. To lose weight, you have to either eat less or move more. If you do both of those things, it's even better, but there is no single weight loss diet or activity that's better than any other. When it comes to weight loss, the most effective plan is the one that you will stick with. Get a good quality sleep. People who don't get enough sleep have a higher risk of obesity, high blood pressure, heart attack, diabetes, and depression. Most adults need at least 7 hours of sleep each night. Make sleep a priority in your life. Set a sleep schedule and stick to it by going to bed and waking up at the same times each day. Keep your bedroom dark and quiet so it's easier to sleep. And if you feel like you have been getting enough sleep but you are still tired throughout the day, ask your doctor if you need to be evaluated for for sleep apnea, a condition that can increase your risk of heart disease. Signs of sleep apnea include, or obstructive sleep apnea include, loud snoring, stopping breathing for short times during sleep, and waking up gasping for air. Treatments for obstructive sleep apnea may include losing weight if you are overweight, or using a special device, CPAP machine that keeps your airway open while you sleep. Manage stress. Some people cope with stress in unhealthy ways, such as overeating, drinking, or smoking. Finding alternative ways to manage stress, such as physical activity, relaxation exercises, or meditation, can help improve your health. The last but not the least, get regular health screenings. High blood pressure and high cholesterol can damage the heart and blood vessels, but without testing for them, you probably won't know whether you have these conditions. Regular screening can tell you what your numbers are and whether you need to take action. As Professor Klima likes to say, we don't have hesitation to drop off our car once a year for service. We want to make sure that everything is working well before we drive the car. Once we reach a certain age group, I think it is a must that you have a look how good is your body, and do you have any issues. Blood pressure screening. Regular blood pressure screenings usually start in childhood. Starting at age 18, blood pressure should be measured at least once every 2 years to screen for high blood pressure as a risk factor for heart disease and stroke. If you are between 18 and 39 and have risk factors for high blood pressure, you will likely be screened once a year. People age 40 and older also are given blood pressure tests yearly. Cholesterol, adults generally have their cholesterol measured at least once every 4 to 6 years. Cholesterol screening usually starts at age 20, though earlier testing may be recommended if you have other risk factors such as family history or early onset of heart disease. Type 2 diabetes screening. Diabetes is a risk factor for heart disease, and if you have risk factors for diabetes such as being overweight or having a family history of diabetes, your doctor may recommend early screening. If not, screening is recommended beginning at age 45 with retesting every 3 years. The changes listed above might sound like a lot, but don't worry. You don't have to change everything all at once. The key to improving your lifestyle is to start low and go slow. Choose one small specific thing to change and try doing it for a while. And if it works for you, keep doing it until it becomes a habit. If it doesn't, don't give up. Choose something else to change and see how that goes. As you find things that you are able to change and stick with, keep adding new changes. In time, you will see that you can actually change a lot. You just have to get used to the changes slowly. Thank you for sharing these minutes with me. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and should you have any concerns, feel free to contact me or German Heart Center, and we will do our best to help. Thank you. Catherine?